Good morning, everyone. Good morning, good morning. And Macheloni, Huye More, Tobel, Sanwana. I think we should start. I'm realizing that the queue at the registration desks will keep increasing. Rather, let's start and they will find us on the way. But before we start, I want to give Stefan an opportunity to come and do the safety moment, and then we can get into the formalities. Thank you.
Good morning. Welcome to the CSIR International Convention Center. My name is Morgan Mahlangu. Please do not change seat for the duration of the meeting. Mask and sanitizer. Please remember to wear your mask all times. Sanitizing stations located in the foyer and all around the building. In the unlikely event of an emergency, an alarm will sound throughout the building. Trained responders will give instructions on evacuation. Stay calm, take only belongings that you can carry. Emergency procedure, walk in an orderly manner, do not run. Responders will lead us to an emergency exit, then to the assembly point. Please observe 1 meter from other delegates and staff. Refreshments may be served in biodegradable packaging to avoid contact. Beverages are served individually, including sweets in the venues. Only venues with fresh air intake are being used. Restrooms' main doors are left open to improve ventilation. General information: restrooms are available throughout the building. Please look out for signages. As this is a public building, please do not leave your valuables unattended. Wi-Fi information: free wireless internet access is available throughout the building. Select free CSIR ICC on your device and no password is required. I thank you. Enjoy your time at the CSIR Convention Center.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Due to COVID, we have not traveled much. So when he stood up here, I was expecting him to start doing I feel like you have not done enough because, yeah. So thank you so much, and all the best. Okay, I had a pause because every time I stand next to this thing, I want to ask us to pray. So I almost say, let us pray. Sure, okay. I have a few rules for the day that I want to get you to agree with me. The first one is that I don't want you to switch off your phone. I just want you to put your phone on silent, and please don't make it vibrate. You don't know how some of us get terrified by that vibration sound, so put it on silent. And because you have free Wi-Fi, it's for you to tweet or send a WhatsApp or go on LinkedIn and brag about this day. Just as long as you keep me as the most common feature on your tweets, I'll be happy. And so the second thing I want to encourage you is that if you are here, there is a possibility that you know us too well. I mean, CSIR and NCPC. But if there's an opportunity for you to want to know us better, our website is live, active, up to date, and you can either speak to us through the website, or you could go to the website to find out who we are, what we do, and why we appreciate your presence here this morning. The alternative to that is that at the desk outside where you registered, we welcome you to go and ask them for information, and they will be able to update you. There are also model ladies and men or gentlemen outside. I hope they are not going to stand with placards and say, There are also people around, NCPC staff, NFTN staff. NCPC stands for National Cleaner Production Center of South Africa. NFTN stands for National Technology Network, Foundry Technology Network. They will be able to guide you, advise you on how to get closer to us. We love feeling loved. So you could talk to them. May I also recognize, as I call into the stage, Mr. Gerhard Fourie. He's the Chief Director for Green Industries at the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, and also the person responsible for the National Cleaner Production Center and the National Foundry Technology Network at the department. And I'm also pleased to invite on stage Ms. Phillipa Rodseth. She's the Executive Director for Manufacturing Cycle, the cluster for all the manufacturing industries in South Africa. Rana Ghoneim is the Chief Energy Systems and Infrastructure at UNIDO. She is online from UNIDO, or from Vienna, the UNIDO head office. Can we just give them a hand of encouragement as they come in front? So, ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome. This is a very special moment for us at the CSIR hosted programs in Smart Places. I know that the Executive Cluster Manager for Smart Places is here, Dr. Bethwell Slapelo, so welcome, sir. I want to also recognize the other executives that I've seen. Welcome and thank you so much for making this a special day. But this, to us, is special because of two reasons. And so I'm not good with jokes, but I'm just going to say things. If you feel I make you laugh, it encourages me. So please laugh. Please. Now there are two things that happened in the last 3 years. Every second year, we are supposed to hold or host this event, which we call the Industrial Efficiency Conference. And we rotate around the country. So the last one, if you remember, was held in Cape Town. Before that, we were in Durban. Before that, we were in Sandton. So we are back here. We had hoped we would be in Port Elizabeth today, but I think this is the best place to be for this moment. But we were delayed because of COVID-19. And COVID-19 came to change our lives. If you are like me, and you like things that are methodic and in order, a lot of your activities would have been interrupted. But I am beginning to change my attitude and mindset to appreciate that I'm standing before you this morning because I have the potential to adjust and live as quality life as I used to, even when there's COVID-19. So we should not forget about that. The other interesting event is that I've not lived that long, but I've realized that every now and then, after a few decades, there's some global event that goes on that disrupts us. And these two, specifically COVID and the war in Ukraine, seems to have done something interesting. It has affected our economy, affected our lives socially. It's affecting our environmental protection priorities, which means that things cannot remain the same. The prices of commodities are going up. The inflation is just going up. So it means you cannot remain the same. But I want to identify something unique and special in South Africa. Eskom, they have done a good job in making you and me find something to do, a job. You are here because there is something important you have been convinced and you are convinced we need to do. That's resource efficiency. That's energy management, to make sure we conserve our energy. Because if we don't do that, the CEO of Eskom says, until we get extra capacity, we must find a way, we must become agile to load shedding. But for industry, what we are beginning to experience now as NCPC is that because of the introduction of renewables and alternative energy, because of load shedding, though there is a schedule for load shedding, what you and I don't often recognize is that the impact on systems because of renewables and load shedding, it's going to create havoc in terms of production efficiency and competitiveness. Let me give you an example. If your plant requires a specific unit that measures and it's calibrated and adheres to certain ISO or SANAS accreditation, because of the power quality effect that results from either using renewables or load shedding, you now have a job to calibrate your equipment more often than you are supposed to. Some of the equipment cannot even sustain the level or the rate of calibration that you now have a job to continually make sure that those equipment do not fail because they will affect the production system. Now, it means you and I, as specialists in this arena, we now have more work, good livelihoods, and we now need to get our consultants, to get our specialization, to get a government to also recognize that we need to be agile to these changes. Lastly, I want to recognize today marks the end of a almost 10 years project that we undertook with UNIDO and with the Global Environmental Facility, or GEF, the National Industrial Energy Efficiency Projects. We are excited at the NCPC that through this project, we have become global players, global leaders with awards. Some of you were here yesterday when we were looking at how to improve our training and training offering. I'm also pleased to announce to you that after a few years, and those who are in the education sector, they will tell you it's a breakthrough. We finally got South African Qualifications Authority and the QCTO, occupational trade certification, to acknowledge and give accreditation to all the training, special systems optimization training that we provide. So the CETAs, the universities, now can provide this training in a formal setting. One more interesting thing is that these training are now available. You can go to the United States, you can go to Europe, you can go in most countries, 140 countries that were participating in the Industrial Energy Efficiency Program, you will receive this training. And they were made or created by South Africa, and because of your effort and your participation. So thank you so much for the work that we have achieved. In the last 10 years, we are proud to also say, if you want to think about it from a financial point of view, the work that we have been doing in the Ieee project, now I'm trying to impress the DTIC, DSI, and UNIDO to give us more money, so please clap more hands. The total impact financially of the Ieee project is what we could quantify now before we do proper measurement and verification. It's 5.3 billion rand savings from industry only. And it's 6.3 million tons of carbon that was saved. This is good greenhouse gas emission savings for the country. So there is things you could do without breaking the bank by just doing basic energy management systems. So we really do appreciate the partnership we had with UNIDO, the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, the CSIR, the amount of energy that went into making sure that this project succeeds. Sanedi, and all the other partners, all the sector association from industry, thank you so much for the work that you have put in to make sure that we succeed. If you want to know more, visit our website. So I don't really enjoy standing here. So when you see I'm no longer here, you can come and ask. I will give you more information and I will celebrate. You must ask me to pose. So can I ask our guests to come forward so we can go into the official program? Can we clap hands as they come forward? Okay, thank you so much. I'm going to invite on stage to address us Mr. Gerhard Fourie. Mr. Gerhard Fourie is the Chief Director at the DTIC for the Green Industry Desk or Unit. That's the unit that's responsible for the National Cleaner Production Center and the National Foundry Technology Network. He's also the person that's guiding strategically the activities that we do and also guiding the country generally on all green and renewable issues from a DTIC point of view. Can we clap hands as Mr. Gerhard Fourie comes to address us?
Good morning, everybody, and thank you very much for the introduction. I must say from my side, it's very nice to stand in a real physical setting again. We've become so used to online conferences and so on for the last couple of years, and really a pleasure to be here, and thank you very much for attending this event for the next 2 days. Now, Ndivhuho already alluded to it, but our main job really is to provide funding for him. And to do that, we basically have to convince National Treasury that the NCPC is doing a good job to mainly align our industrial policy objectives with our environmental objectives in South Africa, and that they're doing a really good job of it. And these already alluded to the fact that many of the programs, and especially the last 10 years, this industrial energy efficiency has been very successful. And from our side, I'd like to also congratulate the NCPC on your successes and thank you for making our job, I wouldn't say easy, but easier to get the funding to support this program going forward. But of course, government, we don't have unlimited funding, so we to a large extent also help facilitate donor funding. And we've been very lucky over the last few years to work with UNIDO, amongst others, that they facilitated a lot of donor funding. But other governments, the British government, Swiss government, German government, recently the Flanders government have also provided significant funding for this alignment of industrial and environmental objectives in South Africa. And I think the reason why there's a lot of interest from this donor community is because South Africa, of course, has a very large carbon footprint, and we're one of the most carbon-intensive economies in the world. But there's a lot of opportunity really to change that. And I think the view is sort of, it should be relatively easy to do that if we really put our effort into it. We're one of the countries that has got a very good solar resource. We've got good infrastructure. We've got a lot of space. And when we discuss this with the donor community, we often hear from them that we don't realize how lucky we actually are and the big opportunity we have in South Africa to really grow this green economy and to really make a rapid change to a low carbon, environmentally responsible situation. And they often ask me, why don't you run faster with this? Why don't you've got such an opportunity, it appears that you trip yourself up often. Many countries in Europe don't have these, they don't have the space, they don't have the climate. So maybe if I can suggest something in the breakaway groups to discuss how we can accelerate this rollout, how we can really exploit this big opportunity that everybody sees in the country and that makes it so attractive to provide funding for. So I think Ndivhuho mentioned that our role is basically to fund the program, but also to provide the strategic direction. And the main strategic direction has always been to align industrial policy with our environmental objectives and to do that in a way that makes economic and business sense. So one of the focus areas of the NCPC has always been to try and improve the bottom line of companies, to improve their productivity by improving their resource efficiency and energy efficiency, and to also help identify and grow the multiple opportunities we see in the new green economy. I think I must just mention one thing. I see Marba is here. 20 years ago, when this program was started, a lot of us thought this was a bit of pie in the sky. But today, the green economy is really the place where the bulk of the economic growth opportunities are, not only in South Africa, but in the world. And it's really good to see that the NCPC took the early initiative and have grown with this green industrial path and aligned very well so far with the economic objectives we've seen in the country and the challenges we have in the country. So going forward, the areas I think that we basically, as a government, have put in our, what we, as a DTIC, in our annual performance plan, so that's a plan that is approved by Parliament, and the plan that basically provides a strategic direction for the NCPC. We will continue to focus, of course, on the resource and energy efficiency. There remains a big opportunity really to reduce our carbon intensity. We've done a lot of work in the last year on water. There's a water master plan by the Department of, I think they're called Water, I forgot what their real name is nowadays. And we've developed an input into this water master plan to really look at the industrial opportunities to address our water challenges going forward. So I don't know if you know this, but we've had a lot of rain recently, so people might not think that we are a water scarce country, but 98% of our water resources is basically allocated in South Africa. So there's very little room to maneuver. And water is very similar to electricity. If you don't have water, it can stifle or slow down your economic growth. So a lot of effort went into this, working with the water industry, the Water Research Council, to identify areas and make policy recommendations to improve our water situation. The prediction is by 2030, we will sit with a 17% shortfall in water if we don't address it. But fortunately, this report will be public, will be released in the public, I hope, quite soon. So going forward, the NCPC has already started to focus on this, but we see this expanding in the future. The other area that's become very important for the DTIC, and it's also in our annual performance plan, is what we refer to as new energy vehicles. So that's basically how do we transform our automotive sector to move towards electric vehicles and other type of fuel vehicles, hybrid vehicles. What we see is in the rest of the world, there's a huge regulatory move to force this industry to basically eventually abandon the internal combustion engine. And this is a big industry in South Africa, and sooner or later we will have to adjust to that. The vehicles we manufacture in South Africa are all from global OEMs. And if we don't do that, we might lose a big market share. The export potential will definitely move towards these new energy vehicles. So a lot of work going on to figure out how to transform our vehicle fleet to these new energy vehicles going forward. Another area that is become quite important in the last year or so is battery storage on the grid. You'll see there was this emergency round of the Renewable Master Plan that required storage. I understand the IPP office will soon announce a battery storage round where private companies can bid purely for battery storage. We've also done quite a bit of work in this space. There's a lot of regulatory issues around these batteries, challenges around transporting batteries and so on. But battery storage, really a big opportunity going forward in South Africa. And then the big one, and this is to a certain extent driven also by this war in Ukraine, is renewable hydrogen and what they refer to as power fuels. So this is basically hydrogen-based fuels from electrolysis using water and renewable energy. So in Europe and Asia, there is a very big appetite for renewable hydrogen. The renewable hydrogen is seen as a fuel that can be used in those really hard to mitigate industries, some in the transport sector, some industrial processes, but also as an eventual replacement for gas. So a lot of interest in that space in South Africa, and I know the NCPC is already starting to look at training opportunities to better understand how to deal with this. And this project is driven by the presidency, and a big focus will be around the Northern Cape, western areas of Cape, even the southern areas of the country, to understand how we can quite rapidly introduce the production of this renewable hydrogen, export the renewable hydrogen, and also get local industries to increase the demand for renewable hydrogen. So I think those are really the main focus areas we see going forward. Our approach with the NCPC has always been what we call incremental change. We don't believe in uprooting everything when the environment changes. We basically believe in dropping the things that are not necessary anymore and every year introducing 1 or 2 new focus areas. And that's a model that's worked pretty well, and we hope it will continue. I'm confident it will continue to work well in future, and I wish you guys all of the best for the next 20 years. Thank you very much.
So we're also celebrating our 20th, is it an anniversary? For the existence of the National Cleaner Production Center. And I want to recognize the 2 people who in 2002, specifically for me, because they are the reasons I joined the National Cleaner Production Center, Ms. Marba Fisahi, and Mr. Johan Leroux. I thought I saw him. Okay. Yes. All right. So in 2002, just after the WSSD World Summit on Sustainable Development, I wanted to make sure I can define it. The part of the outcome of the conference was a plan called Johannesburg Plan of Action. It then changed to become Millennium Development Goals, and subsequently we now call it Sustainable Development Goals. One of the recommendations was to establish, and 140 countries in the world adopted this resolution, establish what we call cleaner production centers. So there are about 140 of them in the world, 15 active in Africa only, and 5 that are dormant, because either the responsibility is undertaken by the Department of Environment or the Department of Trade and Industry. They have a director in the department that takes care of the responsibilities. But in the most of these countries, of the 140 countries, what they opted to do was to be in partnership with their Science and Engineering Research Council. In South Africa, in this case, is the CSIR, or the University of Technology. So you go to Namibia, is the NEMTEC, the Namibia Technology, University of Technology, and you go to Vietnam, is the Vietnamese University of Technology, but in most countries is the equivalent of the CSIR, or the entity stands outside as an agency of the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, or the Department of Environmental Affairs in that country. And these entities are functioning under a system. We call ourselves the Global Resource Efficient and Cleaner Production Network, with UNIDO and UNEP, providing the secretariat and the fundraising support for these centers to cooperate and collaborate with EU, with some of the EU member states engaged. In the case of South Africa, because I want to recognize SICO, the Swiss, and the Austrian Development Corporation, the Flanders lately, the UK Aid, and the Danish, who have in the past 20 years of the NCPC and the GIZ, the Germans, who in the past are the ones who have been collaborating and funding most of the activities of the National Cleaner Production Center of South Africa. With a lot of them, with most of them, we have just recently renewed the agreements, and we are going ahead for another 20 years. So there is good that these countries or these donor countries are seeing in partnership with the World Bank, IFC, and JEF, that we need to maximize. And it's important those who were here yesterday, that if you are in the consulting industry for science, environmental goods and services consulting, we need to know you, we need to interact with you, we need to get that capacity to increase the amount of impact that we are having in the country. We need you. So please visit our website, come talk to us, and let's see how you could become part of our capacity to deliver on the activities that we do. Thank you so much. I want to just shift around the next two speakers. Then we will have the industry perspective last, so that we can bring on UNIDO Chief of Staff to speak first. She has another commitment, so I want her to have enough time, and then for us to maybe engage out of that. So I want to give the opportunity to Rana Ghoneim, the Chief Energy Systems and Infrastructure at UNIDO. These are our greatest partner for the Industry Energy Efficiency Program, an opportunity to address us. Petra, is she online? Oh, okay. Yeah, I would not touch the thing. You could see, even from my visibility, I come from the far side of the Republic of South Africa. Technology gets there later. Yeah, so, okay. Rana, welcome, and it's your time to address us. Thank you so much for joining us.
Efficiency project, or at least the second phase of it. I heard you loud and clear that we would like to continue our work on energy efficiency, and of course, UNIDO stands ready to be working with many partners in South Africa on continuing this path that we have started. Just to say, I hear an echo, so I don't know if that's a problem that can be resolved. Do you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm just trying to continue that. So I wanted to just start off by really saying that in the days that we are facing, with the crisis of the energy and also with COVID, energy efficiency has proven to be not only the cheapest and cleanest form of improving our energy consumption and also mitigating climate change. It's also a good opportunity for us in improving resilience to this crisis that we are facing, because at this moment in time, the only thing we can do is really to work on controlling the costs that we have and hand on. And so this is where we really see that there is a larger need to focus our efforts on energy efficiency, because energy efficiency continues to be the one solution that could deliver over 30 to 40% of the emission reductions that are needed for us to achieve the Paris Agreement. Unfortunately, the progress on improving energy efficiency globally is not necessarily on track. And I think with our work at UNIDO, one thing I can certainly confirm is that it is a very complex challenge to tackle energy efficiency, because it involves changing practices, whether these are behavioral changes that we need in households, or whether these are also technical changes that we need to bring on within industry. It really requires that change, and change is not necessarily something that everyone embraces so willingly. We're always keen to experiment new things, renewables, and others, but then just doing things differently is intrinsically not necessarily the first thing we ought to do, although it is the most logical and also cost-effective thing to do. So with that, I think that the project in South Africa has been really a shining example of how we can and we should be promoting energy efficiency within the industrial sector. And I have to say that would not have been possible if not for two very critical things. And these are the committed partners that we have in South Africa. Be it the South African government, represented by the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, DTIC, or the Department of Mineral Resources and Energy, as well as entities like CSIR, the NCPC, and others. But also the companies and the private sector industries that have really worked with us very closely, and with you, and with the NCPC and CSIR particularly, to implement these measures. So we've already shared some of the project results and wonderful achievements in terms of the CO2 reductions. But then, I think that the great outreach of the project as well is that we have worked with over 500 companies in between large and small and medium-sized enterprises. So that's the first really critical element to the project, the commitment from partners, the strong local ownership and industry, and for sure the dedicated staff that have really worked on this project. And here I have to also pause and say that I'm lucky enough to have worked on this project over the past 2 years and to have experienced firsthand from the colleagues that I've interacted with in different departments this drive that distinguishes the project. But also we have a very dedicated and competent staff that are in our South Africa office, and here I'd also like to take a moment to recognize them, and also the colleagues that have worked on this program from UNIDO headquarters earlier, because it's thanks to their support also that this is possible. The donors that have supported this program, absolutely, starting with actually our the Swiss funding coming from SECO, as well as funding coming from DFID at that time, so now FCDO. So that was critical in getting started with the first phase of the South Africa Energy Efficiency Project, and later on was picked up by also the Global Environment Facility. So we will work with everyone here to really ensure that we have a continuation of this effort in South Africa on energy efficiency. But I want to say as well that, as already also was pointed out by Gerhard, that's just the first step towards decarbonizing industry. And as we see it, there's a lot of trends at the moment. So hydrogen being one of them, and it is certainly part of a pathway towards decarbonization. But essentially, what we need to work on is a roadmap that would help in industrial decarbonization. So prioritizing sectors that could also help in achieving net zero and climate neutrality goals for South Africa, as well as really initiating those first pilots, which are going to be critical for supporting decarbonization. So pilots on hydrogen applications in sectors like cement or steel. These we see as coming priorities because we really need to work on getting those projects up to speed before 2030 to be able to still have a chance at achieving our climate goals. And there, perhaps I'd like to spend the moment also to talk about that more in terms of future outlook. So I think our program in South Africa ranges from industrial energy efficiency to clean tech, innovation, to bioenergy. But then looking ahead, we really would like to also work closer on topics related to industrial decarbonization. And the critical challenge we need to resolve, globally, but equally in South Africa, is the fact that for us to achieve our climate neutrality goals by 2050, today we have only half of the technologies that could bring us towards the net zero goals by 2050. So, and actually those technologies are quite investment heavy, and they are not yet fully commercialized. So technologies like hydrogen, like carbon capture, utilization and storage are certainly essential options for us in achieving the decarbonization. However, today they do remain both economically quite intensive, as well as also commercially not widely available. So we need to work with governments, including the South African governments, on putting in place those first pilots before 2030. And then at the same time, the second part of the challenge is we need to still work on innovating and creating solutions for the remaining usages, such as particularly electrification of boilers in industries like steel, cement, and chemicals. This remains to be a challenge, and there is a great opportunity also for entrepreneurs and also for private sector in countries like South Africa to invest more in innovation to drive bringing new technologies to the market that could help in resolving our decarbonization challenges. So I would certainly hope to see that in the future that we would work together on more challenge-specific approaches to innovation. So looking at challenges like the electrification of boilers, and looking to source locally and homegrown solutions for some of these challenges, because as I said earlier, really what I've learned from my interaction with all of our experts in South Africa, a lot of creativity, and also, I have to say, always the first in line for many of our programs. So be it our programs on electric mobility, be it our programs on industrial energy efficiency, on clean tech, maybe some of you know, but I hope more also would know that in many cases, actually, we have always started our programs in South Africa and then started rolling these out globally. So just to demonstrate that, so building on the success of this program in South Africa on industrial energy efficiency, we also have expanded our program on energy management system and system optimization to cover more than 20 countries, and we have now brought most of this knowledge under the Industrial Energy Accelerator, which brings together solutions kits, so like the ones on motor system optimization, energy management, and the other types of systems. So this is available now as a source of knowledge, not just for South Africa, not just for the 20 countries participating in the UNIDO program, but really globally. What we would like to also work on, and we are already taking steps towards that with the partners in South Africa, is actually also the training program. So I know that we have over 12 training courses that were developed and implemented in South Africa, and we would like to actually make that also part of an online training program that would be available for new experts in South Africa and globally. So this is a way to really keep the legacy of this wonderful project that has earned many awards as well, and to keep the dynamic and also to keep this momentum moving. It's really an exciting moment, and once again, I would like to thank all of the partners and everyone who really contributed to this project. And I'd like to just end by saying that I'm also very happy to work with South African experts to bring this knowledge from South Africa to the African continent, as well as to the rest of the world where UNIDO is coming, and thank you all, and wishing you a wonderful conference.
Thank you so much. Rana, I suggest that I know there's still a few minutes. If we could give Phillipa an opportunity to speak so we can take questions and have a discussion before you go. I am pleased to say, she said, by the way, we have about 100 people online who are part of this proceeding. So you might think that the seat next to you is empty. There's a virtual person there. We are even worried that we are now no longer meeting the COVID specifications or protocol. So thank you for those guests who are joining us online. We were supposed to have about 15 directors of the NCPCs in Africa joining us today. Due to some technical circumstances, they are not here. They are all online at the moment. So if you want to know something also about the works of the NCPCs across the continent, there might be someone else who would be able to respond apart from me. So we have worked in the Ieee project alone. We have worked with over 500 companies, and these are medium to large companies specifically. With these 500 companies, we saved about 6,500 gigawatt hour of energy. They were about 5.3 billion rand of financial savings cost cutting and 6.3 million tons of carbon. So imagine if we could increase and do more. And this is just over 7 years of the life of the Ieee project. So if we do more, I can tell you, I think 5.3 gigawatts or 6.5 gigawatts of electricity. It's almost 2 or 3 power stations if you are measuring on existing plants that we have. So you may not need to build another plant if you just do energy management or energy efficiency. There are other projects that the NCPC is doing. One project is the Industrial Symbiosis, and this project is undertaken in partnership with about four provinces. There were 5 with Western Cape, and Green Cape as the Western Cape equivalent of NCPC. So Mpumalanga, Limpopo, KZN, Gauteng, and on Thursday we are launching in Free State, and next week we are launching in the Eastern Cape. And the Industrial Symbiosis is geared to facilitate the commitments of the Waste Management Act from a provincial government point of view and industry. It also facilitates opportunities for us to realize circular economy activities in the country. So one of the measurements of the success of ISP is how many small enterprises were empowered and made to become sustainable enterprises. So symbiosis is about mutual benefits of industry. So we match large and small companies and transfer resources and make sure that the market is created. There's the industrial, eco-industrial park. The DTIC committed 4 years ago that one of the priorities of the National Development Plan is to revitalize the industrial park. By the way, there are about 5,700 government-owned and even more privately owned industrial parks. A lot of these are found in the former Bantustan or homelands, and some are found even in suburban areas. The closest here, for example, the Roslyn Automotive Park. We have another one this side next to Mamelodi. What do we call the place? Tshwane Automotive Park, sorry. I'm asking Berend Oluman because he's the driver of this. The one where Ford motor company is located. And our role is to facilitate the conversion of these parks into eco-industrial parks. If you want to know more, we are inviting you to come and participate. We're looking for more of you to come be part of this, to drive the change, to facilitate the transition of the Republic of South Africa to a low-carbon, climate-resilient, and sustainable economy and industrial growth. So we're inviting you to come and join. We also have an industrial water efficiency program, and we're looking at how the department always say, if you have 1 cup of water left in the country, who's going to take priority, industry or people? So the idea is to facilitate efficiency in the water industry, and you are welcome to get and know more. We also have projects that are cross-cutting at a sector level and company level. For example, with carbon tax, you now need to have an understanding of your carbon footprint. You now need to understand your life cycle, the life cycle management of your product, and we are facilitating those with industry. So if you are an industrial member and you want to understand what your industry, your company is contributing from a carbon footprint point of view, you can approach. By the way, everything we do, it's an incentive program by the DTIC to industry. By incentive, all South Africans know we love grants. By incentive, it means 100% most of the services are free. Did I say it nice? 100% most of the services are free. We will charge you for some. So for example, we will charge you for training you to be an expert in pumps or in refrigeration or in air conditioning or in systems optimization or in adopting ISO 50001, we will charge you for that because it's part of your basic plant maintenance and you have a budget for it. But the rest of the other things, it's an incentive. You don't need to apply. You just come to the NCPC and DTIC will pay for it. So we welcome your participation. So we have about 12, Rana said, 12 trainings. They are all at NQF level 8. So it's your typical postgraduate qualification. And when we train you, you get to that qualification. We are hoping that in the next 2 years, the universities and the TVET colleges and private education providers will take over the responsibility, and we will remain a quality assurance agency for those training, because we don't believe that we should be doing training, and we don't believe the CSIR must get involved into that level of activities. Allow me to invite on stage Ms. Phillipa Rodseth. She's the Executive Director for Manufacturing Cycle. It's a sector association that looks after manufacturing industry in South Africa. One of our best partners. We thought it would be nice to have a view from industry to make sure that we are not telling you of a 20-year that is our own story, but a story that also industry can attest to. Thank you so much, and let's welcome her to the stage.
Thank you, Ndivhuho. We share the sentiment that NCPC is a very, very important partner for us in industry. The key concept that I want to impart today is my view that we function within an ecosystem. In ecology, ecosystem is defined as a biological community of interacting organisms and their physical environment. And if we go to the general use definition, it talks to a complex network or interconnected system. And this, for me, is terribly important in the work that we need to do to problem solve, to identify opportunities, to address challenges, to implement solutions. And it's not helpful to, in this, in order to drive these endeavors, it's not helpful to work in silos, to engage in parallel processes, to reinvent the wheel where it's not necessary to do so. So, and when I say we, I think of SA Inc., I talk about our country, and that this kind of way of working needs to be enhanced within industry, across industry, within government, within state-owned companies, and between all parties. So going to the manufacturing circle level, our membership base is an ecosystem, or it's an example of an ecosystem. If you have a look at the membership or the companies that we represent, you'll see a few things. You'll probably note that companies sit in different subsectors across manufacturing. So chemicals, packaging, metals and machinery, building and construction products. You'll also note that perhaps in a certain value chain, let's take maybe metals and machinery, we've got companies that sit in different parts of the value chain, from upstream all the way down to downstream. And this is very important for us in sort of dealing with, and Ndivhuho used the word cross-cutting challenges. So what is it that we need to do and share across the manufacturing sector in order to drive one of the goals that we feel is so important as Manufacturing Circle, which is to be competitive. Competitiveness is one of the underlying aspects that we look to drive in order to function effectively in a local and also, where it's applicable, a global space. So the Manufacturing Circle by no means represents every single manufacturer in the country, but what we like to indicate is that we're really a microcosm of sort of the manufacturing whole. A lot of the issues that we see across our member companies and within our association are very applicable and relevant to the manufacturing sector as a whole. So on the basis of keeping the concept of ecosystem going, we work on a collaborative basis to implement solutions. And a very important initiative that we launched towards the end of last year was the Electricity Forum, where that is an aspect, electricity, and that can also include renewable energy as a source, is fundamentally important to industry, to manufacturing, and the country as a whole in terms of addressing supply-side issues, but then also taking demand-side opportunities on board. We've got a lot of build in the renewable energy space. Where can we as manufacturers service that and best address that? So this Electricity Forum was a 2-day event where it was sort of bookended by an opening and a closing panel, and I would just like to highlight that the NCPC and Ndivhuho was a very critical sort of component in sort of connecting the dots. And at the opening panel, we looked at sort of what is it that we're wanting to achieve over these 2 days, and then we reported back to the panel at the end. And it was structured according to 4 workshops, really looking at the state we are in and the way forward. So this slide talks to that, where we say, simply put, we don't have enough supply, and this is hurting manufacturing output and competitiveness. So it's really, it's kind of quite it's nice to contextualize this fact that to become more energy efficient, it's important from a competitiveness perspective, and also it's there to address sort of our immediate issue, where what is it that we can do now to close the generation gap? Because our demand surpasses supply. So again, sort of in layperson's terms, one either needs to generate more, and we've got those programs, but they will take time, or we become more efficient, and become more efficient with what it is that we do use. So closing the generation gap and this energy efficiency is absolutely critical, and something that we can all do now and should have been doing for a very long time. And, you know, for us, it's ongoing and iterative. So we had this forum in October, but then we said, okay, what are our next steps? What do we need to drive? We don't do talk shops. We want action and implementation. So we said we're going to reconvene end of June, and we're in the process of identifying, and together with our NCPC colleagues, which municipalities or which case studies can we look at as to what is working well, or projects or pilots that could be implemented. You know, and also, you know, overlaying that with the energy efficiency measures that we can put in place. So this for me is a very interesting slide. It indicates across our member companies, the companies that have participated in and benefited from the SA Industrial Energy Efficiency Project. And they've been highlighted. So we've got AMPCA Products, SAPI, Consul, Impact, and also, I also add St. Gobain. They're a newish member company, and they've also participated in this program. So, you know, and these are companies, well, all of our member companies are proactive. What I would like to highlight is that, you know, some of these are some of our older member companies, long-standing, proactive, identified the opportunity and the initiative, and have really benefited from the program. The other point that is also very clear is that there are a lot of companies that have not participated in this program to date, and the benefits have been indicated as far as the program is concerned, and the you know, the cumulative savings. And here I have a list of manufacturers who saved energy and costs through the NCPC-SA UNIDO Industrial Energy Efficiency Project. I'm not going to read all of them, but I'm going to list a couple because they also make certain points. AfriSam, Afrox, ArcelorMittal, Atlantis Foundries, Belgatex Floors, BMW, Degama Textiles, Defy, Distel, Dutton Plastics, Eberspecher, Feltex Automotive Trim, First National Battery, Fry's Metals, Galvanor Textiles, Hesto Harnesses, Kraft Foods, Man Truck, Meadow Feeds, Mintec, Mr. Price Group, Pioneer Foods, Polyoak, PPC, Rhodes Food Group, Socket Manufacturing, Solomon's Coatings, Spunchem, Tastic Rice, Techniplate, Tiger Brands, Toyota, Unilever, Van Dijk Carpets, Vineyard Hotel, Weet-Bix, Willard Batteries, Woodlands Dairy, and ZZ2 Tomatoes. So that's not the complete list, and as Ndivhuho just mentioned, it's over 450 companies. But again, what does this tell us? It talks to this ecosystem, the fact that different subsectors within manufacturing have been assisted. We can see automotive, metals and foundries, agro-processing, building materials. And for me, what was also interesting is that the way these projects have been listed, if we take First National Battery, for example, these are at the specific manufacturing sites. So it's First National Battery at Buffalo View Road, at Fort Jackson, at Benoni, at Settlers Way. So again, that talks to the tangible nature of what these projects are doing. Factory sites are really, factories are where, and their geographical position and the municipalities in which they operate, that is where the rubber hits the road. And that's what we need to address in order to become more effective and efficient in functioning. So moving forward, first of all, we really as industry acknowledge this very auspicious occasion that 2022 marks the 20 years since the establishment of the NCPC, and the partnership with UNIDO, and the hosting under the CSIR with the oversight of the DTIC. Again, talking to the importance of an ecosystem, and also talking to other projects where the NCPC has also, not only just the industrial energy efficiency program, has assisted an additional large amount of companies to identify areas for improvement and resource use. And I'm very glad to hear Gerhard and Ndivhuho both talk about industrial water efficiency, because that's something that's very important for us to drive as well. In these areas where we're looking at municipal service delivery or the lack thereof, for our companies, our manufacturers, our factories, electrical reticulation and water reticulation are critical. And in our modus operandi of solving a challenge by eating the elephant one bite at a time, we thought, let's look at electricity first. Both are absolutely critical, but if you don't have electricity, you can't run your pump. So that's really how we looked at prioritizing it. But we very much look forward to engaging on industrial water efficiency, and we'll talk more about that. In closing, as on behalf of the manufacturing circle and industry as a whole, we really thank and acknowledge the NCPC South Africa, UNIDO, the CSIR, and the DTIC for this hugely important initiative, which does so many things and, has an underlying basis on remaining competitive and sustainable. And that's really what we need. And we urge industry to proactively engage to improve efficiencies, enhance sustainability, and drive competitiveness. I take it as my personal mission and ambition to make sure that more manufacturing circle members make use of this and more of industry makes use of this. We are here to make the circle bigger. This is good for all of us. And, in acknowledgement of this complex network and interconnected system, I really do thank you and look forward to future projects, that we can do together. Thanks.
Thanks, Ceci. Oh, it needs to be formal, eh? we call each other sister and brother. So anyway, it's okay. All right. So we have about 10 minutes for engagement before the breakaway or the tea break and then the breakaway session. I already have 3 questions online. The first one is that there are 2 levels of training I'm answering. 2 levels of training. The first level is basic training, which is awareness-raising training. That will take you a minimum of 2 to 5 or 7 days. The trainings are all available online. So in the past, they were classroom-based. We can organize the training to come to your site if you have a minimum of 15 people on your site. But if you don't, then you'd have to join the formal training that are scheduled. The schedule for all the training is available on our website, including the cost for those training that you pay. But the basic training are all free. Every company that receives our service gets the training for free, including a maximum of 5 of their staff member to receive the expert level NQF level 8 training for free. Then the rest they pay. So the second level of training, it's expert level. Expert level takes a minimum of 6 months to 12 months or 18 months depending on the student's ability to go through the material. Some of the expert level training are already virtual, but majority is still classroom based. Now, expert level is in two forms. The first 6 months, if you are doing a 12 months, it's classroom based training. The last 6 months, it's field work. So you get assigned a company, and the company is called a host company, and the company provides you with their plant or their production, access to their production system, and your job is to go and save them money, identify gaps in their production system that either through energy, water, waste, life cycle, carbon, whatever, you believe that that company can save money, become competitive, become efficient, and once you do that, you then meet all the requirements to be awarded a certificate. If you want to then become, the other question, you want to become a trainer of the trainings, then you do expert level. When you are done, you do what we call train the trainer. You get to be taught to be a teacher, and then we use you to do the training, and the trainings are in two forms. You train industry, or you train other consultants who wants to become experts. So the experts trainers are the other trainers who are now qualified as experts. So you get that opportunity. We pay you for all that. Well, we don't pay you for training. We pay you for becoming an expert to train other experts and to train other industry. We also have a training program that's designed for students, specifically TVET and university students. So some universities and some TVET colleges will ask us to come and train their students. So they will design in their curricula or syllabus an opportunity for us to come in, and the students will then receive that postgraduate qualification in the process. Or in a case of the Department of Tourism, the Department of Economic Development, or small business, they would say, we have a list of SMMEs that we are supporting. Please come and provide the training. Women and children do that a lot. They will bring women together who are in enterprises and say, provide the training. Or tourism will then go and get 1,000 graduates from their tourism colleges and say we want them to have the knowledge on energy management, or we want them to have a knowledge on waste management, or we want them to increase their capacity and understanding. So we do that as well. All this, it's available on the website, but if you go out to the reception and ask for Sybil Rowells, she will even show you her staff members who would facilitate and help you get the training. If you are online, because 2 of these questions came online, I'm told that there's a person who is talking to you who would facilitate for you to get more details on this. So that's the questions that I had online. May I open a space for the audience to ask questions or comments? You are allowed to just say, Mr. Raphulu, you look handsome, but I prefer beautiful. Okay. Yes, sir.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Oscar. The surname is Mala. My company is Sufficient Grace Trading. My question is regarding to NCPC and the manufacturing cycle. Because of a small business there, to get into these technologies that are coming up and coming, we are not able to afford in those technologies. And at the manufacturer cycle, they cannot make it this technology to make it energy safe, to be more affordable, so that the SMME, they done what? they can able to afford it so that they can use it to see if maybe it is working, maybe they can be able to reduce cost for them as well.
Thank you. Do you have another one? Maybe 2, 3 before we respond? If I'm not seeing you, just press the mic and start talking. Yes.
Greetings all to everyone in the house. I'm Samatse. My question is to both the DTIC and the NCPC. With efficiency being a relatively new kind of discussion that's happening within South Africa, I really believe that young people should be very present within this space and in such conversation and be involved actually in implementing all of these efficiency technologies and all of these programs. I just wanted to know how can a young person propose something to both the DTIC and the NCPC to bring a fresh mind, a fresh perspective into the way we do things. And how can a young person actually be brought into the space? Are you guys open to that? And yes.
Okay, thank you. I thought I saw another mic. Yeah, okay.
Good morning, everybody. I have a question. Is there any opportunities for startups and small businesses that would like to get into this space, and how can they actually start being known in this space and actually get an opportunity to join the projects?
Thank you. Should we respond to those ones? Gerhard, do you want to start? Okay.
Can you hear me? I think you should answer, all I can say is it's not really a new concept. NCPC has been doing it for 20 years. I suppose it's a case of creating more awareness. And on the issue of young and startups, Ndivhuho, you can maybe just give us some information on the experts you've trained. A lot of them are young people and the success they've achieved in running their own businesses.
So one of the, and if I touch on all the questions at the same time, you will forgive me, but I will try to also follow the question as they came. One of the experimental trainings we are doing in partnership with MERSITA, EWSITA, and ISET-SITA, it's a concept called Learning Factory. And the Learning Factory targets specifically young people, and it does not limit them to degrees or diploma. You understand, if you are like me, you regularly or frequently are in a township in Gauteng, or you come from a village, there's that young person who's running a cell phone fixing or microwave fixing shop who does not have a qualification. So the Learning Factory creates an opportunity for that young person to come in. We train, we know they already have the skill, they're doing the job. We provide a formal system for them to be trained, qualified, and then they get a certificate that recognizes what they're doing. So that's one level of how we are trying to engage young people and bring them on board. Also, start up. So within the CSIR, there's a program called ECD, Economic Creation for Development. Their role is incubation, identification of economic development opportunity, incubation of those economic development opportunities into companies or programs that could then become cooperatives, companies, or business opportunities. So there are partnerships, activities going on in the CSIR that allows us to benefit from that. The methodology that we apply are much more effective when you apply them to an existing operating company. And that company just needs to call us and ask us. It's for free. And we will then come and implement those methodologies for them. So if you want to, it's a brown or green or pink investment that needs to start. I'm trying to be diplomatic and not make other colors feel I left them out. If you want us to come and advise you on how to set up your company and at the same time make it a carbon neutral company, we can do that. We have the ability to do that. There's the energy center in the CSIR, there's the water center in the CSIR. There's also, we call them FBIs, and not the US ones, but the CSR one. Their role is you have architects, you have planners who are sitting there who could help you from a design point of view on how to become a carbon neutral, and from a policy point of view, from an operation point of view. And so there is that capacity, and that's the reason we sit within the CSIR to benefit from that intellectual capacity that's there. So there is opportunity for young people. We have programs, for example, I gave an example of the program we do with Department of Tourism. None of those students, currently there are about 40, none of those are science or engineering students. They are, what do you call the training? They are trained to become tourism hostesses or hostess. But we have customized the training, and the trainings that we do are very engineering, very scientific oriented. But we have been able to customize them to suit their sector, and we provide that to the hotel industry. So anything is possible. If you have a proposal, I welcome that. We would be able to assist you. That's the role of young people. Affordability of technology, I don't know if Phillipa, you and I can answer this one. But there are programs that Science and Technology, DSI, and DTIC with the IDC and TIA are running that would be able to support technology innovation, technology localization, technology transfer, and we could introduce you to those. Specifically for NCPC and NFTN, I know we have technology localization and transfer in the NFTN, but this is geared at existing operating foundries in the country. But if it's fresh, new startup, then we will introduce you to the relevant government agencies or government departments that will facilitate. So there are opportunities broadly in government that may provide support for that. We are geared to support existing and operating facilities, because our role is to facilitate transition of the economy and manufacturing industry to a low carbon and climate resilience industry. So when you are starting, you have an opportunity to start already with that in mind. Thank you. I thought I saw one hand which I didn't recognize before I answered the question. See if there is one. Okay. Oh, yes, last.
Yeah, my name is Mohaudi Tejani. I'm a director of a startup company, a certified ENMS expert.
Wow,
my question revolves around the partnership that SMMEs can forge with NCPC in order to penetrate the market as consultants. What I'm picking up is that as a startup company, is that we're finding it difficult to open doors of opportunities whereby we can render the services, especially in the field of implementation of ENMS to the industry. So I don't know if NCPC has a mechanism in place whereby they can work with SMMEs or partner with SMMEs to create opportunities for them in the industry.
That's one of our new consideration for market access. So what we have done with the IEE project, And there were those who were lucky that we piloted the development of ISO 50001, SANAS 50001 through them with the SABS. And we find, which is a reality that I think you are talking about, that the cost of getting to a certification or a compliance is very high for all ISOs anyway. So at the moment, because of the priority of the program, we were prioritizing those that could afford. We don't have through the green industry or the DTIC, a mechanism to assist SMMEs with compliance, but the small business industry department through CSIR have got a grant funding that allows you to access almost 50% of the fund required for you to become SABS or SANAS accredited or compliant. We have not considered getting involved from a funding point of view at that level, but we could help in opening up doors for market access. I'm sure members of BUSA or manufacturing cycle, there are a lot of them that are looking for BEE or small enterprise for enterprise development purposes. We can facilitate that, but we cannot fund or support compliance or certification for SANA's process. Thank you. I've eaten 12 minutes of your time for tea. Can we break for tea and we meet again at 10 to 11? There are 3 breakaways before lunch. The first one, it's on industrial energy efficiency and the IEE project. It's at Diamond Auditorium. The second one is on Eco-Industrial Park. It's at Crystal and Onyx Room. And the third one is on sustainability in the metal casting industry. It's at Amethyst Room. Some of these questions, I think you will benefit a lot if you ask them again in those sessions, because there would be 1 or 2 people that are doing or working in that space. And after these sessions, the facilitators will then usher you to our lunch of the day. Thank you so much for this morning, and looking forward to tomorrow morning session as well. God bless you.